So, we're going to be doing something a little bit different on this episode, and we are going to be talking to a remarkable entrepreneur in our community, Katie Wright. She owns Lion Heart Style Boutique, and we're going to talk about her story and her journey to self acceptance. And by the way, we're not doing this just from the kindness of our hearts and trying to showcase entrepreneurs. I mean, yes, that is part of it, but really we want to show her and others like her, like you, how you can use these stories and use these experiences to actually connect with your audience and eventually convert them. That is our aim. So hang with us and we will be right back after this amazing interview with Katie. I help entrepreneurs create their lead generation machine using their stories to organically fill their conversion events. For the best advice on using virality marketing to do all of this, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to be notified when I post a video every Friday. And today I'm going to showcase this wonderful interview I did with Katie Wright and her journey to self-acceptance and how she can now use that story to connect and convert her audience. Doing something a little bit different. I'm really, really excited about this segment actually, that we're going to try bi-weekly, because we are going to be spotlighting some gorgeous souls on here, and we are going to be talking about not just talking, but delving deeply, I think, into themes that a lot of us as entrepreneurs, as multifaceted humans, human beings, mothers, sisters, brothers, husbands, we have so many elements to each and every one of us. And those are the things that really I'm excited about exploring, because each one of those things make us remarkable in our own way. And that's what we want to be doing. We've got Katie here. And Katie, would you mind just introducing yourself really quickly, your business as well, and then we'll get into the theme of today.
Okay. Hi, I'm Katie Wright. I own a boutique online for women. It's called Lion Heart Style. Currently living in Fort Carson, Colorado. I'm a military spouse, mom, 2 kids.
Awesome. Okay, so how's this going to work? So I'm going to have a chat to Katie, and in the background, Bonner is going to be logged into Katie's Capsho account, and she's going to be beavering away, pulling together this story so that at the end, we can show Katie what her story has actually created from a content perspective. Because like with everything, we definitely want you guys to be delving into you and what makes you remarkable, but at the same time, we have a business to run, right? So we want to be thinking about how do we use this as weapons, as strengths, as superpowers that can help us eventually monetize. That's our aim. All right. So Katie, I think when we spoke, we were actually talking about a podcast theme that we did for our podcast. I think, was it last week or a couple of weeks ago? I can't remember anymore, but it was, the theme of it was freeing yourself to free your business. And I think I'm so super glad that something in that resonated with you. Could you just expand on when you were listening to that podcast, what did that mean for you, and what came up for you?
So as I was listening, I actually really related to you and Bana on both of the things that you mentioned, but one probably in particular would be Bana. She talked about losing herself or her sense of self. And I grew up in a family. I was the youngest of 3 girls and 2 very extroverted sisters. I was an introvert. And so I just resonated with that, not having a voice so much in my family. Felt a bit overlooked, kind of just wanted to be the girl. And so sometimes I didn't know how I always felt about things. So that was like hitting me as I listened.
Yeah. And can you tell us an example of how that came about? Like when you were that little girl, was there a particular moment where you were like, oh, I wish that I could have expressed myself in this way, but I'm like, no, 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 I'm the good girl, so I'm going to do this instead. Is there something that comes to mind for you in that?
I remember dinner table conversations. We would always have dinner as a family most nights, and my other sisters are always talking and having the floor and sharing. And so I would have things going on in my mind, but I had a harder time getting the floor to like express myself. And I remember thinking like, I want to be a little more a part of this too, even though my family loved me very much. It's just it was a little hard to get a word in.
I can imagine. I think I've frozen a little bit. Oh no, I'm back. Yeah, so that's tough, right? And then throughout your life, it sounds like you've always wanted to And maybe it wasn't until recently that you figured this out for yourself, but was there something that was in you, even as you were growing up, where you were like, "Oh, I wish I could be this way," or "I wish I could be," you know, was there something like that that you were kind of reaching towards that you knew
Absolutely.
that there was something?
Yeah, I think that I thought I should be an extrovert, and I would even try to be an extrovert, and I would try to mimic my sisters sometimes, and I would force myself to be out there, but it didn't always feel right. And so the best way I could do it would be to bring others in and ask them questions about themselves, and that kind of like brought me far. And so I would do that a lot to try to make friendships and things like that. But I would have a harder time talking about myself because I wouldn't think that people don't care about that or something like that. There's something in me that held back myself. So it was harder for me to be truly myself. And I also wasn't feeling like safe, I guess. I didn't trust myself with people, if that makes sense. And so when you don't feel that way, it's harder to be your real self. So I had a harder time getting to know people. And then once I made it over a hump at
Mhm.
some point, then I would be good. But those first getting to know people's where I feel like I didn't make a great impression or I just was hard time being myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And can you give us a bit of insight in terms of like what made you, I don't know, decide to make a shift? What was there a point when you were like, enough's enough. I have to start finding myself, and what did that mean and look like for you?
So I kinda tell people I was a late bloomer. I really feel like it wasn't until, I went away to college that I started to make friends on my own away from my family. I grew up in a small town too, so there's everyone knows everyone. So, starting to meet new people, and then eventually I met my husband who was so interested in me and, like, brought out things in me that I hadn't experienced, or someone just wanted to know all about me, and I started to trust more that I had a lot to give, that I was good the way that I was, that even being an introvert is a beautiful thing, like, you don't have to be an extrovert, and don't have to change myself to be accepted or to be great.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And can you tell us a little bit about, what would your husband do or say, or, to make you in
Um,
who you are?
really thought I was funny, which I feel like not as people see that side of me because that is getting to know someone to like put yourself out there and have that comfortable, and he's really witty. And so we could just really go back and forth. And I don't know, he would want to hear my whole stories, he'd want to hear what was inside. And so that was just really cool that someone wanted to listen and I just felt they were really there and in tune. And
Mhm.
yeah, it made me feel like I could be me.
That's so cool. I mean, I have a similar experience where I struggle with a lot of the same things, and my husband as well. Similarly, was like, it's just so beautiful when you find someone who just accepts you for who you are, right? And there's no
Mhm.
like question. There's no like, oh, if only you did this, or if only they were genuinely interested in. Like, I it's the most beautiful thing, I think, when you have that. So, oh, I'm so
Mhm.
glad. Okay, so let's talk about, because I know that when we spoke, you were mentioning about enneagrams. Now, would
Yes,
you mind just giving a quick overview to people on here who might not know what that means, and then specifically what enneagram type you are?
sure. So I really resonate with Enneagram. It's a little different from personality test. It's a little bit more like why you do what you do, maybe what drives you. And I am an Enneagram 9, which is the peacemaker. And so it's that one of the tendencies they have is to lose themselves. And so as I learned about the Enneagram, I was like, this is me. They love to keep the peace. So like if people are going out to eat, if someone has a strong opinion, I'll go with what they want just because I want everyone to be happy. Like that is I can't stand people to be upset with me, that's the worst, and so but in that, you can kinda be a chameleon with whatever situation you're in and sort of blend in to what the people are, so sometimes your true self doesn't come out because you are like, "They may not like that," and so you'll blend to be accepted, and so understanding more, like, I'm not the only one like that, and that there's a whole group of people that have a tendency to be that way, researching that has really helped me, and it's also really helped me understand other people as I learn their number, and how there's actually a really cool website called the Enneagram Institute, and you can read about your number with other numbers and how like they tend to interact. And so it's kind of like, okay, that makes sense why maybe me and like my mom were this certain way. She's a 1, I'm a 9. She's a very moral, black and white, gotta fit into a little box type of thing, and I'm a little more gray. But so I fit into her little box. So I really understand ones.
There you go. Awesome. And what has that helped in terms of, we were talking about this theme of, definitely losing yourself, and it's hopefully helped you clarify what that means and looks like for you. And then what has that meant in terms of then starting to find yourself? Like, what has a journey been like for you?
The journey has included counseling, which I wish I had gone to years ago. I think I started 2 or 3 years ago, and I started and then I stopped, and then I recently started like the last 6 months again. But there's certain relationships I've had in my life that I've had a difficult time with, my mother-in-law being one. And so like she's an 8. And just being able to dig down into the emotions or like why we clash, having someone else help, that has really helped me and helped me learn that it's okay to have boundaries. It's okay to be assertive in a kind way. Because in the past, I just couldn't do that. I mean, I've been run over for like 15 years by mother-in-law because she's a strong opinion and I would just want to please. And now it's getting to the point where it's like we've had a tough relationship. And so part of it's my fault because I didn't have boundaries and I let her do it. So that's been huge to like come to those conclusions, and I've been slowly practicing them and it's helping me.
Yeah. And what would be the biggest thing that you found has been, how do I say this? What's been the biggest benefit? I guess benefit's such a lukewarm word, but I'm going to go with benefit. What's been the biggest benefit, I guess, that you found through going through this journey of like losing yourself, of growing up and trying to be someone who you aren't, being that extrovert, trying to emulate your sisters, all of that, finding love, finding someone who's just accepted you for who you are, working out why it is that you are, well, at least one aspect of it, and then those
Mhm.
relationships kind of around you. And what is like the biggest thing that you have taken away from all of that?
I think one of the first things I had to come to was to give myself permission to have feelings, to have opinions, and to make peace with that. Also to make peace with how I am designed and that that can be a beautiful thing. So like permission to accept those parts of myself. So that was really the first major step.
Yeah, awesome. And what else have you, and sort of how did that come up? Like, can you tell us a story maybe, or something where you were like, wow, I'm actually accepting myself. Like, I'm actually, is there something that, came that brought that to life for you?
Yeah. Let's see. I think maybe even, like, learning to say no and be okay with that, or to be I used to have some FOMO where it's like everyone's hanging out for long, long times, and, I would feel like I gotta hang, but to I remember one time my in-laws were in town and I was starting to struggle, and so I decided to take a little walk by myself to just regroup, and that was really helpful. I just needed a break. I needed a social break. And so I went on a walk kind of this farm in the back of my house and came back and I was more refreshed and I was like, I can do this. I can continue to hang with them and reset. I just needed to recharge.
Yeah.
So I remember thinking, I need to do this more often in social situations. And it's
Yeah.
okay, you know?
Yeah. Awesome. Amazing. Okay. Okay. So then let's go to some takeaways, because you've gone through this journey. This makes you remarkable because you've done the work, right? Not everyone can say that they've done this. Some people can say, yeah, I kind of resonate with losing myself, or I can resonate with being an introvert, trying to be an extrovert, or I can resonate with, but you've done that work of like actually going through that journey and then coming out it's a lifelong journey for all of us,
Yeah.
but you had some learnings. Can you share some of those learnings with us?
I think that it's brought me to a place of self-acceptance, which is really helpful and important, and so it's made me feel more comfortable in my own skin, and, that's actually where the word Lionheart style came from. Lionheart is being lion-hearted, being brave, and even though you're maybe not the loudest person in the room, you can still be brave to be who you are and that it can be a beautiful thing. And so I feel lighthearted, even though maybe I seem a little quiet to some people or perhaps weak, but I'm actually really brave. And so accepting that has made me feel more confident in this person, which has been really cool. And life is more fun when you, you
Right?
have, yeah.
This is the thing, like, this is like, I think we talk about so much about, how when we can accept ourselves, it makes us better people, it makes us better partners, husband, like entrepreneurs, whatever. But like that, what you said there, like it makes life more fun is actually
Mhm.
the fundamental thing that it all comes down to. Because, and this is why I talk about when you free yourself, you free your business, because it's also like when you free yourself and you learn to have fun, like you can't help but bring that fun and that energy into your business, and that's really
Mhm.
how you really start to grow. So I'm so excited that you said that. Okay, so we have the whole concept of self-acceptance. I really want to explore the relationship angle. Like, what would you say for people? What's a takeaway for someone from that angle to help them on this journey as well?
Let's see. I think allowing yourself to explore your own emotions and how you really feel, and sometimes it's hard to do that, so counseling's a great way. But also another thing I've done is journaling. It's weird, but I can, like, write out my feelings in a more honest way than I will in my head, and even speaking out loud. Like, this is kinda silly, but, like, if I go to the dressing room, I'm not sure how I feel about something, and to say, "I like it," or "I hate it." Because in my own head, I can't it's harder for me to make that decision. I don't know if that makes sense, but yes. So,
Yeah.
like, figuring out what works for you to help you get to, ho your feelings, how you truly feel, whether it's written, verbal, counselor. I mean, I know there's gotta be other ways. Going on walks are super helpful for me. Being in the shower, allowing my mind to wander, things like that help me come back to my sense of self when I start to feel maybe, like, going through the motions or life is busy and come back.
Yes, awesome. I love that. And then, yeah, like something around, and I think there was something, about self acceptance leading to liking yourself more, leading to confidence. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah. It's been fun to see what the more I am myself with people, the way I used to hold back, the more I give more, people actually respond so much more to me. And I respond more to them. Like, I have such deeper relationships now that I'm more okay with being myself. And so that has helped me feel more confident as a person. Like, if there's a big gathering of a room, I can go in and just be me. And it's weird. I've almost become more extroverted in the sense that I don't care so much what people think. And like we have this great big time. And I don't know, not the life of the party necessarily, but like I think I also bring that out of other people more because I try to make them feel super safe. I don't
Yes.
know. It's just really helped my relationships with people. And so it's just like a cyclical thing almost, like the more I give, the more they give, and it becomes this like beautiful thing. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That totally resonates. And that's why I think a lot of people, when they find out that I'm actually an introvert, like a massive introvert, they're really surprised. But I think, what you said there so totally resonate with me, because I think that's why I give so much energy when I'm like, talking, to you like this, or going on Tune Tuesdays and things like that, because of that, because it's like, yeah, when you feel comfortable in yourself, you give more, and then you
Mhm.
get more. And that is kind of what we internalize as introverts, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so I love that. So last thing, anything last from you, Katie, and then we'll hand over to Bonner.
I would say last thing is maybe I used to hold in all my negative feelings. And so, like, I didn't wanna get in an argument with anyone. And so actually being married and, like, being able to fight well, I guess, like, we don't have to yell at each other, but I could say, "I didn't like this because of this," and I could boil it down into, like, a tangible piece. And then he could have his say and be like, "Well, I didn't mean that, and this is what I meant, but I can see how it made you feel." Things like that where it's like in the past, I used to sweep things under the rug, and then I would, like actually nines, it's so weird, but they're kinda have an anger issue, but it's because we bottle it all up and then we explode. So, like, learning how to, like, deal with things that keep short accounts has helped my anger too, because it's like I don't resent people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm getting it out, we're dealing with it rather than me just taking it all in and then I'm frustrated and then they're like, "Well, why are you frustrated?" So, anyhow, if you deal with anger or bottling it up, I have learned deal with it in a mature way early on. That has helped my
Yeah.
life a lot.
Awesome. Awesome. And so one last thing that I do want to come back to is the whole is finding yourself in the confidence. Has that played a role in, for Lionheart Style? It's a boutique, sells fashion. Has that played a role for you in terms of how you express yourself outwardly, in terms of the clothes that you wear, maybe the jewelry, the accessories, things like that? Can you talk us through some of that?
Yes, I think that for a while I was like kind of a slob after I first had kids. So, taking the time to get dressed has really helped me feel like more comfortable on the outside. And so I'm not thinking like when I go out, oh, I look like crap. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You're also feeling like you're resonating how you feel on the inside, I guess. So
Yes.
you're just not thinking about that. But actually, one other thing that made me think of was like going live. I remember my first times going live, it was horrible. You guys always talk about sucking a little less the more you do it. And I've really gotten to a place, like even this, I didn't feel nervous. I don't feel nervous. I just feel like myself. It's so
Yeah.
weird how like just doing it for a while, something that's uncomfortable. And it's strange. Like even like now it's almost easier for me to go live or do an Insta story than it is for me to sit down and write. Because
Yes.
you get it done and like, I don't know. It's great.
Exactly. Love it. I love it. Yes. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Katie. Bona, any last questions from you before we jump over to Capsho?
No, but this job is really hard because I'm just like trying to. Anyway,
I'll
we'll
find a
go
little
through
water angles and directions.
No, that's not a complaint. It's hard only because the conversation's so engaging, and I want to jump in and be like, no, don't forget that. So, but I've got plenty of ideas for you, Katie, for future storytelling tools as well, because there's so much goodness in this. But no more questions from me on this particular thing.
Okay.
Did you want me to jump straight into what I've
Yes.
sort of gleaned so far? Okay, great.
Yes.
Like I said, I've been taking notes madly. So, and I think just to your point, Katie, about like speaking out loud with some of these things, maybe that's a great way for you to capture, where you kind of look at the storytelling prompt and just kind of talk your way through it, and then record yourself, and then filling it out will be so much easier because there was so many pieces of gold there. I'm like, there's way more than 3 takeaways here that you can share with
Yes.
us. So I've got some ideas for you for, like I said, future content. Okay, so I think most of, I don't know who's watching along, who we've got on, but I'm just going to, what I'm going to share on here is basically Capsho. So I've been, like Deirdre said, just been creepily listening along, eavesdropping, and filling out. I'm inside of Katie's Capsho account. So really quick 10-second plug. Capsho is this amazing software that basically can take stories like exactly the several Katie told us today and turn them into captions and emails for you. So for this conversation, I decided to use our storytelling tool called Promised Land, which really helps you kind of help your customer understand your story and really help them not just like, I guess, understand, but also implement some of the things that you've learned in this case about, self-acceptance. So we first start with, what is your audience actually looking for? Now, for someone like Katie, you might think, oh yeah, they're looking for clothing, right? They come to Lionheart for, the freshest, awesome, beautiful clothing, and they do, but really they stay for the stories, or they come in because they're hypnotized by something that she shared, now that she's so open and willing to share herself. So really that's where we started. And then it kind of, so I jumped around a little bit. So then we kind of go into where, so the first thing we talk about is like, when did Katie realize that she'd reached this after point, which was this immense level of self-acceptance. I didn't quite get to that because that came at the end of this conversation, but we can quickly go back and plug it in. But really in terms of where it started, I couldn't get that image of little Katie out of my head, where you're at the dinner table, you're sort of wanting to get a word in, you're, and I wasn't there, I didn't quite get, but I just filled it in because I just imagined that, like the cutlery tinkering, that's what you can hear while your sisters are going on about their day. Maybe I just made that up. But just that feeling that, you can almost see you kind of at the, the corner of the table, kind of interested, but also going, hey, why can't I be like that, and you wanted to be heard and you want to feel safe and you want to express yourself, because you knew that you're holding yourself back in some way, even as a child. You know that about yourself, right? You didn't know how you felt about things. All of those things, I think, was really powerful. Then we talked about, going away to college. I love that. It's kind of like I grew up watching American movies. I don't know, but for us, that feels like a rite of passage. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then you meeting your now husband. So then we talked about kind of, really starting to open yourself up to him. And I think that sense of humor piece was really, really good, because you're so right. That's when you're your true self, right? You're like, this is probably a weird thing to say, or, and then you're truly comfortable. And, the kind of, I just made up the fact that maybe you guys went on a road trip somewhere and you were singing along and he didn't quite get to that, but you could have, when you talked about how you guys started to get close and you opened up to him in that way, there were sweet little moments like that you could just plug in here, where he really kind of, you felt like you were opening up. And I really thought one of the things we talk about thinking is like thinking about nothing for a change, because I know you can get in your head. So that's just about telling the story, and then the main overview of kind of like what you've learned. So I think it's really about people talk a lot about confidence, but first comes self-acceptance. And I plugged in some of your key takeaways, which I think, like I said, there was more than 3. So I've saved some for you to use in another tool. So I'm just going to go skip ahead, and I'm going to submit what I put in. Some of this is very draft, so forgive me. Okay. I need to hold, please. I think I just need to put something in for, this is a good live test, guys. As you can see, as I'm putting the answers in, you can see it on the left where your results are. So I've been a little bit, not lazy, but I was trying to keep up with the conversation, and I think I skipped a question. So it will tell you. So it will tell you right here. I was with mine. I'm just going to say this for the sake of getting through this. Okay. So then what you do at the end is you put in all of your answers, and then you hit submit. And what that will do is it will take you to your Instagram grid. So in this case, it's going to be Katie's. So it will kind of display it in this view where every day this kind of refreshes for you. It will depend on, what storytelling tools you've completed so far. So there's a couple of blank ones because we haven't filled that out just yet. But let's see what we've got for Katie. Okay, so this is one where it's a little bit more of a back in the day. So spend the morning having, okay, well that's a lead in, but I recall the time when I was, so yeah, you could be having breakfast with your bestie there, and talking about finding self-acceptance. You're feeling insignificant as a child, wish these things, wanted to express myself. If I knew this, and what actually happened, right? So here, this is a bit of a pre-frame to your story. That's one way that you could write a caption, and it really starts to bring a lot of relevance, I think, relatability. And really kind of now sharing more of the tips that you talked about, that you can find other ways to express how you truly feel, like journaling or speaking out loud. You personally get yourself out of your head to make sure that you come back to your true self. And then, you can ask your audience. If you don't particularly love these ones, you can also refresh. And because there's would we say hundreds, Deirdre? I don't even know now what we're up to in terms of the number of captions, but cycle through as well, using the same inputs that you just have. So it's not like it changes any stories, but again, it's just a different way, kind of you to really kind of, I guess, share the same takeaways and overall perspectives that you've got. So all I had to do was to express myself and be heard. That was another thing that we heard Katie talking about. So really, that's kind of it just gives you a few different shorter form, longer form captions, to use and cycle through. And if you also wanted to write, an email, so you just go into the email part of it, and there's a few different ways that this can just be. These are great for just value add emails if you don't want to be selling all the time, to share the story behind how you came to self-acceptance. And again, this can also refer to a few different versions as well if you don't particularly love the one that has come up. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I will clean this up a little bit just from what Katie was saying, but I think we got to a really good place with some of these captions. But I'm keen for your feedback as well, Katie, on how you found that experience and the outputs.
Yeah, that was really helpful. And actually, one of the things I've talked to Bon about in the past, it's harder for me to talk about myself in this way in business. I feel like the self-acceptance and things I've learned in my personal life, I'm now translating into business. So the blog posts or the emails that aren't product related are harder for me. So this is I've never written one like that at all. An email, it's only ever been product based. So this is going to help me have other content that's not just, these are my things. So I'm excited about that.
Amazing. Congratulations. You just wrote your first email, non-product email.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. Keep commenting. Let us know your questions. Let us know any takeaways that you might have had. Even if you resonate with Katie's story or parts of Katie's story, that's the whole thing, right? That's how, as humans, we connect. We connect through these stories and through the experiences that we have. And you might not have had the exact experience that Katie had, but you, at some point, you can resonate with, like, you've had your own experience in that way. And that's why, I kind of interjected a couple of times, being like, oh my gosh, I did that too, or I thought that too, because it totally resonated with me. So I hope that was helpful. We're going to try to do these so that we can highlight different people's stories, because it's just so cool. Where even in this small community, we have so many amazing, talented entrepreneurs who have, like, amazing backgrounds and stories that we just want to help bring to life. So that's what we're going to try doing. And comment below and tell me, have you had a similar experience, a similar journey to your own self-acceptance? What's a story that you can remember where this has been brought to life for you? And if you want to know more, if you want to take actually what you've just learned to the next level, then come and join this free community of female entrepreneurs just like you, where I share even more free live training on how to connect and convert your audience, how to build your lead generation machine using your stories organically. If you want to learn how to do all of that so that you can grow your business, then come and join my Facebook group at the link below. This video next on how to create storytelling content, and then this one on working out whether you are a storyteller or not. And if you like this video, hit that like button, be sure to subscribe and share it with all of your friends, and I cannot wait to see you on the next video.